Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cody Nelson.
And I'm Lizzie Gardner.
And this is the state of Minnesota.
After 2 severed fingers were found at the Red River camping ground in late May, police have finally tied the digits to a 32-year-old man who lost them in a fireworks accident. When asked why the man abandoned his fingers on a picnic table instead of seeking medical help, the Grand Forks chief of police said, "I'm guessing he was in a hurry. When the Kenny Chesney concert starts, the Kenny Chesney concert starts."
Actor Jaleel White, famous for guest starring roles on hit shows such as Boston Legal, House, and Psych, made waves as people began to notice him being followed by a camera crew at the 2016 Minnesota State Fair. Eyewitness reports say the footage is for White's upcoming documentary, Did I Eat That? Early reviews are touting the film as Urkel's Blackfish. Groundbreaking stuff. Got a gun you don't want? The city of Minneapolis hosted a gun buyback last Saturday with the intention to recycle the guns for the use of art. The event was called Art is My Weapon, and all of a sudden I wish I'd trademarked my MySpace page.
A new study shows that Ellendale's Beaver Lake is being contaminated with algae blossoms and not, as previously reported, 5,000 gallons of sewage in a spill into the lake. One local resident was quoted as saying, okay, so it's not in Beaver Lake, but where the heck is all my sewage?
The results are in. The St. Paul Saints bobblehead giveaway election was held in late August, and among crowd selections, Donald Trump has come out the victor, with 55% of attendees choosing the Trump bobblehead. In unrelated news, Sex World just got a new shipment of butt plugs in.
Speaking of butt plugs, just 5 days before the deadline to be on the Minnesota ballot for November's presidential election, Donald Trump's name was accidentally left off. Republicans were scrambling after they reportedly failed to submit paperwork by the August 29th deadline. GOP spokesmen speculate that the error was not an error. They love paperwork. You should see how much papers they have worked. It is huge. Huge!
A gun and fishing store in southeast Minnesota, so a store, I guess, has been robbed of 80 handguns. A spokesman for the Wabasha County Sheriff's Office reported that they're on the lookout for probably, I don't know, like 20 guys, I guess?
A St. Paul park is home to what could be one of the hottest spots in the country for Pokemon Go players. Evenings at Rice Park have become unexpectedly crowded in the last month, with hundreds of people milling about late into the night glued to their phones. When asked to speculate on St. Paul's success, no one said anything because, just kidding, no one asked.
The University of Minnesota unveiled new details for the construction of Athletes Village, an estimated $166 million project which includes new basketball and football facilities, a nutrition center, and the mysterious Tutors Playhouse, a windowless bunker where fully written academic papers will appear for the athletes out of a small slot. A friendly reminder from the U, tutors can't have human food. With me, everybody, don't feed the humans. We'll figure it out.
Later.
In other U of M news, the athletic department fired wrestling coach Jay Robinson last Wednesday after reports of an alleged drug ring involving many of the student athletes. Drugs? A conflicted educator? I'm no Ryan Gosling, but I'd say this coach is in a real half Nelson.
Think about 10 people saw that movie?
Enough.
The Minnesotan Republican Party has a booth at the state fair where you can get your picture taken with a cutout of Hillary Clinton wearing an old-timey prison uniform. You can also get a picture with a cutout of Trump where you're the one wearing the prison uniform.
Hot dog. In an interview with the Brody File, whatever that is, former Minnesota Representative Michelle Bachmann said that God raised up Donald Trump to be the GOP nominee. Some may question why God chose a power-hungry narcissist who had profited by mistreating people who worked for him, but I guess game recognized game.
Magnetation, a Minnesota iron range company that deals in leftover mine waste, may be forced to close in a month unless it is rescued by outside investors. Executives for the mining company reveal that their top choices would include China, Dennis Rodman, and an out-of-town billionaire with a half-wit son.
The Minnesota Department of Public Safety released its annual report on drunk driving in the state, saying that 1 in 7 drivers in the state have a DWI. 1 in 7? That's about 7 people here tonight. Look to your right. Now look to your left. Now look in 5 other directions. Lizzie has a DUI.
What can I say? Garrison Keillor published a very critical open letter to Donald Trump in the Chicago Tribune. Apparently, there's only room for one old white dude who spews incomprehensible garbage about how great things used to be. Speaking of old white dudes, comedian and actor Chevy Chase checked himself into a rehab facility in Minnesota last week for what his publicist called a tune-up. According to sources close to the actor, a tune-up could either mean Chase will clean up his career by starring in a movie that features cartoons a la Space Jam, or it could be whatever amount of cocaine it takes for Chevy Chase to return to normal. So a lot? I don't know. A little?
It's a lot. One local brewery is suing another brewery, claiming people keep confusing the two. Okay.
Oh,
Northbound Brew Pub in South Minneapolis filed a trademark violation against North Loop Brewing Company, which operates Inbound Brewing Company, alleging trademark violations concerning the use of the word bound. This just in, we are willing slaves to a neoliberal capitalist system, and no amount of local beer will change that.
Sure are. A new program pairing Minneapolis police officers with mental health professionals to assist in emergency calls involving mental health crisis is set to be implemented next year. A similar program pairing citizens with mental health experts for dealing with police is not. Yeah.
Albert J. Hofstetter, the youngest person ever elected mayor of Minneapolis, passed away last weekend. He was 34 when he was elected mayor, 75 when he died, and he wants his death to be a reminder to men everywhere not to peak too early. For the record, doctors recommend laying low and keeping it chill until like 45, 50.
Yeah. Then you can go nuts. Listen, we're all distraught over Teddy Bridgewater's leg falling off, so, we reached out to head coach Mike Zimmer for comment, and he made a statement, but we can't actually remember what it was because we are too distracted by the fact that he looks like Hannibal Lecter wearing another man's face. What?
And speaking of the Vikings, every single game of their 2016 season is sold out, according to an official statement released by the team. Upon closer examination of the box office record, turns out every single one of those tickets was bought by Teddy Bridgewater's mom. Little bit early, Mrs. Bridgewater, little bit early.
A beloved Minnesota statue of Babe the Blue Ox was knocked down last week in Brainerd. Reports speculate high winds are to blame, but we cannot rule out Paul Bunyan's drunken teenage sons just yet. Okay? They're still on the loose.
A photo of 2 bored-looking teenagers at the Minnesota State Fair went viral last week. The story behind the photo, well, we quote 17-year-old Jake Shepley, one of the stars of the photo, as saying, "I was sad because I love dipping dots, and I didn't have any more money to buy more."
Too bad. 21-year-old Reggie Lynch has rejoined the Gopher basketball team after being cleared of a sexual assault charge in August, checking off the next milestone of his path to becoming a long and successful NBA player. Yeah, that's right. Questions, comments?
Blink-182 made a triumphant return to St. Paul's XL Energy Center this week, playing their old hits and drawing a surprisingly diverse crowd. Oh, really? Okay. When reached for comment, a local concert reviewer said, "Surprisingly diverse is an understatement. I saw some white men there as young as 15.
And now, tonight's top story.
Duke the dog will serve a 3rd term as the mayor of Cormorant, Minnesota, after his near-unanimous re-election as a member of the DFL party. To be clear, DFL is not the Democratic Farmer and Labor Party, but rather the Dogs for Life party.
Yeah, get it right. Local pundits were surprised to witness the landslide vote, considering accusations that Mr. Dog regularly commingled personal and government funds.
However, the state of Minnesota team did some work with a dog translator, and after careful analysis, this is what we can safely assume was going through Mr. Dog's head. I am the mayor, I'm the mayor, and a dog, I'm a dog mayor, I love bones, and you. Now there's a platform I can get behind.
human opponent, Chet Gordon, attributes Mr. Dog's victory to the city council's last-minute approval of Dog's highly controversial butt-sniffing law, wherein all residents of Cormorant are not only allowed but highly encouraged to sniff one another's gluteus maximuses.
Maximi, I believe.
Oh, maximi, excuse me, plural.
Chet Gordon's opinions, though passionate, seem to be in the minority in the town. Not to mention that Gordon has had trouble escaping the shadow of Catgate, a 2014 scandal in which he drunkenly revealed he liked how low maintenance they could be.
Oh, yeah. That was the end.
Minnesota tonight.
Thank you. Tonight, we'll take 10 to talk about public transportation, how people in cities get to work, and how people in the suburbs get to Sneaky Pete's. If you keep up with the local news, you might know about Metro Transit's proposed Green Line expansion and the struggles it's faced getting passed in the legislature. And for a brief explanation of the entire situation, I give you this.
Hey, Choo-Choo Bob, what are you doing here?
Hi, Charlie. I'm just looking for a way to take the train all the way to the Eden Prairie Mall.
Oh, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, Bob, but that line doesn't exist yet. Huh? The Southwest Rail Line has run into trouble. In fact, it might not exist ever.
That's right, ominous bandana-wearing sock monkey. The Southwest Light Rail might not get built because of some ongoing struggles it's been having for some time. Now, these all started in 1988, when the Hennepin Railroad Authority proposed a light rail line that would take passengers from Hopkins, Minnesota to downtown Minneapolis. Now, that wasn't the only great idea from 1988. Others include Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. 1988 also featured Big, a movie starring Tom Hanks as a giant piano-playing statutory rape victim. There he is. And, not coincidentally, crack. Now, in 2016, all of these things have stuck around whether or not we have wanted them to, except for the Southwest Green Line, which is strange if you consider the popularity of our current light rail system. Metro Transit has two light rail routes, the Blue Line and the Green Line, both of which start in downtown Minneapolis and go south and east respectively. Together, they hit a variety of Twin Cities landmarks, including CHS Field, the University of Minnesota, the Mall of America, Target Field, and Minneapolis's new shiny Death Star. Basically, you can take the train to all the places where you pay a lot of money for different combinations of beer, cheese, and grease food, which, to be honest, is what Minnesota's all about. Because of this, Minnesotans really love light rails. So much so that in 2015 alone, ridership neared 23 million, an average of 68,000 weekday rides, which is higher than originally projected. These are some big numbers, like Tom Hanks' Big in the movie Big. But the dream of 1988 remains unfulfilled, and not only because Rick Astley never won a Grammy for Best New Artist. Fuck you, Tracy Chapman! Sorry, Fast Car's a beautiful song. I don't know why I said that. The corridor from downtown Minneapolis to the western suburbs has been proposed as an extension to the Metro Green Line, but has failed to be approved for a couple of reasons. First, the projected cost grew from $300 million to $1.9 billion, which was understandably jarring, almost as jarring as going to bed as a 13-year-old and waking up as a full-grown, boob-fluffing Tom Hanks. The Green Line expansion would be the biggest public project in the history of the state of Minnesota, using more state funds than the US Bank Stadium and Target Field projects combined. Additionally, there are ongoing lawsuits against the project with concerns about its environmental impact from both the Lakes and Parks Association and a group of Minneapolis residents. But even despite these issues, the Southwest Rail Line aims to improve Twin Cities' public transportation system. And rightfully so. Public transportation is a necessary part of any major city. I mean, where would New York be without its subway? Or San Francisco without its trolleys? Or LA without its crushed pipeline of dreams? What also stands in the way of the Green Line expansion is the fact that Minnesota has a problem funding public transportation. The Twin Cities metro area devotes only 0.25% of its sales tax revenue on transit expansion, maintenance and expansion, which is 4 times less than the spending of other similarly sized cities like Denver, Boston, and Cleveland. That's right, Cleveland. A city full of people who are too defeated to leave Ohio spends more money on public transit than we do. Admittedly, the Twin Cities doesn't have a public transit system to brag home about, but that wasn't always the case. Here's a map of the Twin Cities rail transit system as of 1913. Now here's a map of the Twin Cities rail transit system as of 2016. That's right, 100 years ago, people may have been polio-stricken corset wearers, but they still had an easier time getting to work. The elimination of these lines has left non-drivers no efficient way of getting around, and mustachioed villains no place to tie up their damsels. Now, if you want to get around, you're better off offering that bandana-clad monstrosity a beach in exchange for a ride to the Eden Prairie Mall. I would not suggest that. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in that predicament. According to the 2012 census, this is official. According to the 2012 census, approximately 20% of Minneapolis households don't own a car. That means, statistically, there's a good chance that if someone asks you if you would like to see their whip, get ready to see an actual whip. That's right. Many households without a vehicle tend to be lower income, which makes sense because owning a car is expensive. Even with costs at a 6-year low, according to AAA, the average yearly cost of owning and operating a car is $8,500. Those who can't afford a car are bound by the limitations of our transit system, which often means limited access to many of the job vacancies that are booming in suburban towns in the outskirts of the Twin Cities. If job seekers from the Twin Cities don't have access to these jobs, the entire foundation of the suburban economy might collapse. And as we all know, the suburban economy is founded upon the trifecta of Patagonias, hoverboard maintenance shops, and Cold Stone Creamery, the only place where you can get ice cream while humiliating someone in the process. Sing, damn it! I tip thee a quarter and sing me a song! One of the major reasons our transportation system is commonly disparaged by puppets is because transportation policy is ultimately decided by our government. And like everything in government, this issue is split upon party lines. Led by Governor Mark Dayton, a man who looks like he told dad jokes even before he had kids, state Democrats generally want to fund public transportation projects. And on the other side, we have Speaker of the House Kurt Doubt, a man who looks like he's still haunted by the fact that his high school football team never made it to state. He told me, it's true. Leading Republicans who generally dislike funding public transportation projects and taking off their Letterman jackets. Now, I know this looks like another classic Republican versus Democrat issue, but when you look at it closely, you can see that Republicans from rural and suburban areas don't think public transit matters to their constituents, and Democrats from metro areas do. It's a classic bring it on scenario. On one side, you have a bunch of suburbanites trying their best, and on the other side, you have minorities from the city getting shafted. Clovers for life. Have you seen the movie? That's what happens, okay? Don't say, oh. Go back 20 years and say that to the writers of the movie, okay? In fact, there are a lot of benefits to public transportation, even for people who own cars. Improving alternatives to driving will help relieve already crowded roads and highways in the Twin Cities, as well as prepare for the over 750,000 projected drivers planning to move to the metro area within the next 20 years. Less people on the roads also lessens pollution, which benefits both the environment as well as the public health. A 2015 report from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency estimated that smog created in part by motor vehicle engines contributes to nearly 2,000 premature deaths annually in the Twin Cities alone by aggravating respiratory conditions. Even a slight reduction could potentially save over 200 lives. Republicans who control the state house don't want to spend money on public transportation. Their party platform explicitly states that road and bridge safety should take precedent over new light rail construction. And focusing on these things is reasonable, especially when you consider our state has a terrible history with bridges. That's right, I'm talking about Teddy Bridgewater. He's the I-35W of the Vikings quarterbacks. He can't make a pass, he's terrible under pressure, and he has a history of letting people down. But instead of just focusing on roads and bridges, state Republicans have effectively obstructed many public transportation projects. Just take a look at how they voted in the Southwest Light Rail.
Well, Republican leaders said today also that they will not provide a single vote for the Southwest Light Rail line that goes from Minneapolis down through the western suburbs because they say it's a waste of money.
Okay, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Minnesotan Republicans probably just don't want to spend that $1.9 billion. That was too much to pay and would like to spend that somewhere else. But you might be surprised by the actual amount the state would have had to pay.
That would be $135 million that the legislature must provide, and then the feds, Frank, would kick in another $895 million.
All we had to do is pay literally 14% for the federal government to pay 86% of the bill. And worst of all, delaying this project has cost a lot of money in and of itself. The Metropolitan Council has stated that every week the project has been postponed, the cost for the line has increased $1 million. Hell, you could book Tom Hanks recreating the piano scene from Big for only $100,000. That means every week we postpone the light rail expansion, we are missing out on the chance for 10 Minnesotans to dance on the very large piano with an American treasure, an absolute American treasure. And what's worse is that this delay in negotiations for the Southwest Light Rail has postponed other major political decisions in the state's bonding bill. Because of a lack of compromise, the state legislature adjourned without passing a necessary bill, which would have helped finish hundreds of necessary construction projects around the state, create over 30,000 jobs, and help the state's sick and homeless. All this great stuff for the state was lost as a result of near iration and hatred of public transit. And at times, this hatred has turned not only from public transit itself, but to people who ride it. Just look at what State Representative Jim Newberger, a Republican from Becker, Minnesota, said in a debate about a proposed extension of the North Star commuter rail.
About not maybe a half a mile, quarter a mile from the rail tracks is the St. Cloud State Prison. Boy, wouldn't that be convenient to have that rail line going from the prison to North Minneapolis or to any other section of our state.
That's right. Boo. Fucking boo. Now, if you thought that was bad, let us look at how Newberger tries to apologize.
I'm not casting any aspersions on North Minneapolis, okay?
Yes, you are. According to our racist aspersion meter, that statement clocks in at a full-blown Thanksgiving uncle, right above early campaign Trump and guy in class who's playing the devil's advocate. Ultimately, the Met Council found a different way to fund the Southwest Light Rail expansion, and the line will be built. And when reached for comment on this continued dedication to the Southwest Green Line project, Governor Dayton gave this statement. Never gonna give you up, Southwest Light Rail. Okay, sorry about that, we had to do it. But seriously, if congressional opposition persists, Minnesota is going to continue leaving thousands without access to jobs, slowing down our economic development, and we're going to have a lot of time to think about these things while we're stuck in traffic. So, Minnesota Republicans, can we talk for a second? White dude. What's happening here? You're not even being Republicans anymore. By opposing public transit projects, you're costing the state millions of dollars and losing us jobs, which we know are your top two turnoffs right after gay climate change and a uterus. I know it's been hard for you these past 8 years under Barack Hussein, oh bummer, but keep your head up, hold your Reagan body pillow tight, and build a light rail. And if you do this one little thing for us, maybe, just maybe, we'll let you invade Canada. Thank you. Stay nice, Minnesota.
This November, citizens across Minnesota will head to the polls to make an informed choice for president. But when they see all the other names on the ballot, they'll probably have a flashback to their high school SATs and end up filling in C for all the answers. Not to worry. Here at Minnesota Tonight, we'll be profiling a different Minnesota election each week. Tonight, Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District, home to Valley Fair, the Pine Island Cheese Festival, and the world-famous Jolly Green Giant. The 2nd is one of only a handful of true swing districts in the country. Think of it like your grandmother's house at Thanksgiving, with your Bernie bro cousin and your Trump-supporting uncle glaring at each other over a plate of green beans. Since 2003, the district has been represented by Republican and baby bird waiting to be fed, John Klein, whose decision to step down this year makes this the only open congressional race in the state. Running for the Democrats is local businesswoman Angie Craig. While she's never held elected office before, she has had a successful career as an executive at St. Jude Medical, where she was engaged in health policy, government relations, and walking purposefully from one place to another. Craig is also the first openly gay candidate in Minnesota to be nominated by a major party. She and her wife have 4 sons who, like any teenagers, look like they'd rather be doing literally anything other than playing Scrabble with their parents. So who did the Republicans nominate to challenge Craig? That would be former conservative talk radio host and bargain bin Robert Redford, Jason Lewis. While Lewis is popular among his listeners, Minnesota Republicans expressed concerns that his career as talk radio's Mr. Right could provide his opponents with decades of damaging sound bites. We here at Minnesota Tonight wondered, how bad can these sound bites really be? Here to tell you how bad these sound bites can really be is Jason Lewis himself.
You know, Reagan had amnesty, and after that, we lost the Hispanic vote. The problem is it's the fastest growing population in the country. The problem is if you don't make inroads, the dwindling white population, and by the way, it is cultural suicide. You've got a bunch of dinks running around, double income, no kids. And I don't want to make a racial thing out of this, so I'm just stating a fact, but white people are not having kids.
Well, thank goodness he didn't make that into a racial thing. But while the 2nd District is just 2.6% Hispanic, women make up more than half the district. While working at St. Jude Medical, Angie Craig launched a highly successful program to elevate more women to upper management positions. What does Jason Lewis have to say to these glass ceiling breakers?
A vast majority of young single women who couldn't explain to you what GDP means. You know what they care about? They care about abortion. They care about abortion and gay marriage. They care about the view. They are non-thinking.
That's right. Real solutions, like Lewis's call for a constitutional amendment allowing states to secede from the Union. You know, going forward. Basically, his point is that just because he said something horrible in the past doesn't mean he's going to put those words into action. Right, Jason?
I'm Jason Lewis. Every day on the radio for 20 years, we've talked about solutions to our biggest problems. Now, it's time to put words into action.
Wow, did we mention this race is still considered a toss-up? This has been Running Commentary, reminding you all to please, for the love of your mother's green bean hot dish, go vote.
Minnesota Tonight. Minnesota Tonight.
Willows.
seems to me to be much colder than the ice which falls from sky without a sound. You say you want to be someone special, don't you, baby? I heard that once before. 'Cause all I'm trying to say, you got it in you. Falling, falling, falling for you. Falling, falling, falling for you. Falling, falling, falling for you. Falling, falling, falling. Ooh, the weight upon my shoulder. Ooh, the weight upon the ground. Seems to me to be much colder than the ice which falls from sky without a sound. You say you want to be remembered, don't you, baby? Yeah. I swore I heard that once before. 'Cause all I'm trying to say, you got it in you. Falling, falling, falling for you. Falling, falling, falling for you. Falling, falling, falling for you. Falling, falling, falling. That was thank you so much. An original called Falling, and next we'll be performing Open Water. So. 'cause you will not remain still.
Stretch me still. One time in the east, yeah, and you stretch me still.
And we are boys ready to kill, and we'll find you if it is our dying will. So head out to open water. So head out to open water. Head out to open water. So head out to open water. Head out to open water. Head out to open water. So head out. Head out. Head out. Head out. Our name is Willows. We're from Minneapolis.
Minnesota tonight. Tune in. Minnesota tonight. Tune in. Minnesota tonight.